Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about a customer who tried to return filthy mattresses under a faulty item law, claiming his wife fell out of bed because the mattresses were too hard. Buckle up for this wild ride of retail nonsense and a boss who handled it like a pro. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Customer tries to return beds, had to call store owner while basically laughing at the guy. I worked in retail for many years at different companies, so I'll have a few stories to share here. Here goes one I often tell people because it's just about the funniest experience I've ever had. Some background for context. I live in Denmark, where we have a law stating that if an item bought from a business is sold faulty, the customer is by law allowed to get a new item or have the one repaired. This is actually a kind of 2-year warranty. Returning items and get money back is actually up to the store. So I worked at a department store focused on beds and duvets mostly. They have other stuff for interior too, but the store chain is mostly known for beds and duvets. My job was managing the back of the store where everything was stored, and my duties consisted of that, taking deliveries and making sure that things specifically ordered for customers was set aside, and also had to get the bigger items for customers that they couldn't carry through the store, and last but not least, returns of the bigger items. It was a quiet day when suddenly a middle-aged man pulled up with his car and trailer loaded with 2 box spring mattresses and a top mattress, and he started to unhook them while I approached him. He said that he had a complaint over the beds and wanted to return them per the law I mentioned at the start because they were faulty. He wasn't exactly happy, but at least he brought his receipt, which most people tend to forget, meaning we can't help them when we can't confirm when the item was bought. I proceeded to ask the usual about what was wrong with them, as there were no visible damage to them. He'd obviously not even cared to try and clean the top mattress before returning them because that and even the beds underneath were stained and quite filthy. He then hit me with the bombshell. He wanted to return them because the beds were too hard and his wife fell out of it. Customers always try the beds before buying them, so them being too hard was also weird, but not really surprising, since it was some fairly cheap models he'd bought. I'm usually one that talks a lot, but I was speechless and asked him, "Are you serious?" Customer annoyed at me for that question. Of course I'm serious. I said that I couldn't make that decision, so I had to call the store owner, so I proceeded to walk the few meters to where the work phone was and had to turn around and whisper so he wouldn't see or hear me, and told my boss, "Dude, you have to come out here. I have an angry customer that wants to return something, and I can't take him seriously." And also told him the reason. Our boss had also told us many times that if we had customers that looked like they were going to make trouble, we should call him instantly, and he'd take care of it for us. It didn't take long for my boss to come out, and he didn't believe that anyone would actually try to do this. I went back in to do some more of my duties, but I could hear the shouting from the man saying that he would be contacting our head office, so file a formal complaint. My boss came in afterwards, shaking his head and laughing, saying that this dude probably just wanted to see if he could get some money back to get rid of his old disgusting beds and buy some new ones, or just try to get some new ones for free. The fact that he tried to make it seem like his wife falling out of the beds was a fault with the beds, the 2 mattresses were stood together to form one big bed just for clarity, was just too funny for my boss and the dumbest excuse he'd ever heard. He got a call from the regional manager a few days later and told me that he'd also laughed the guy away. It wasn't uncommon in these stores to get crazies trying to complain to try and get compensated with a more expensive item despite their complaint being BS. So yeah, if you want to return a faulty item, fine. Just don't make up BS excuses because you want a new bed. With excuses this bad, it's not exactly hard to see what you're trying to do. So yeah, I think we can all agree that this is peak customer absurdity. The audacity to try and return filthy, stained mattresses because they were too hard and his wife fell out of bed? Seriously? That's not just a stretch, it's Olympic-level mental gymnastics. OP's reaction of barely holding it together and calling in reinforcements is honestly relatable. Some situations are too ridiculous to handle solo. The fact that the boss and even the regional manager laughed the guy off makes this even better. It's a prime example of entitlement meeting a wall of common sense. At least the customer gave everyone a story to tell for years. And our second story. Future sister-in-law demands I make a kid who isn't related to her be my flower girl. I, 23-year-old female, am getting married in a few weeks. Well, a while back, I asked my sister-in-law, Sadie, female 27, to be my bridesmaid. My fiancé warned me that she could be intense and I was under no obligation to include her in the wedding party, but she'd been nice enough and I wanted to have a certain number of bridesmaids. I'm now regretting my decision. Sadie has a boyfriend, Kyle, 21-year-old male. Kyle has partial custody of his ex's infant daughter. Not sure why, considering he's not related to her, but I never asked. Recently, Sadie had been on my case about picking a flower girl. I really wanted to be my friend's daughter since I have a fantastic relationship with her and was actually in the room for her birth. I even refer to her as my niece. Sadie, however, didn't take this well. When I told her, she blew up and started ranting about how she'll ruin the pictures. My niece is neurodivergent and tends to get overstimulated when standing for long periods, so photos may be a challenge for her. I tried to explain to Sadie that my niece was practically family, and me and her mother have been making a plan to ensure that the photos won't be overwhelming for her. Sadie then took the opportunity to suggest Kyle's daughter. I explained to her that I was in the delivery room when my niece was born and I wanted her to be a part of my big day since my fiancé proposed. I thought that was that until about 2 weeks ago. I got a special dress for my niece that looks like a cross between my dress and my bridesmaid dresses. I was showing it to my family when Sadie gives me a gift bag. Inside was an identical dress, but for a baby. Sadie then confessed to snooping around my laptop to find the dress I chose for my flower girl and took the opportunity to order one for her boyfriend's daughter. She then said both girls could be a part of my special day. When I said no, she started screaming at me because it was bad enough that her boyfriend wasn't a groomsman and that I should want him to be a part of the family, especially since my wedding was for the whole family, not just me. She called me selfish bridezilla and stormed out. I was able to calm her down by suggesting Kyle's daughter have a special dance with me at the reception. This seemed to diffuse the situation, and my fiancé apologized for not clearly communicating just how crazy she can get. Everyone's telling me it isn't my fault, but I have to know, am I the bad apple? Update. Sadie was disinvited from the wedding by my fiancé due to how she treated me, and when her mom, fiancé's stepmom, got upset, he disinvited her too. I also got a message from Kyle's ex threatening to sue me if I let her baby be the flower girl. Sadie told her that she would be the flower girl. I'm looking into higher if security and maybe changing the venue without telling her so she won't cause trouble. Future sister-in-law demands I make a kid who isn't related to her be my flower girl. This story has everything: entitlement, boundary stomping, and a whole lot of audacity. OP, you're absolutely not the bad apple here. Sadie crossed so many lines, from snooping on your laptop to ordering a matching dress behind your back, and then dragging Kyle's ex into the mess? That's not just intense, it's straight up unhinged. You showed incredible patience by offering this special dance as a compromise, but Sadie's behavior clearly called for stronger action. Your fiancé stepping up to disinvite her and his stepmom? 100% the right move. Adding security and potentially changing the venue? Smart, because Sadie's already proven she doesn't respect boundaries. At the end of the day, it's your wedding and you deserve a drama-free celebration. Best of luck. And our last story. How a runaway speedboat owner paid the price. Once upon a time, I worked at a small marina on a scenic lake in Maine during college. It was the kind of summer job people dream of. Laid-back boss, friendly retirees, tipping generously, and plenty of downtime to read or relax if business was slow. I loved it. Most customers were in good spirits, and I rarely had any trouble until that guy showed up. It was a quiet day at the marina, just me running things. Being early in the season, business was slow, and I'd only had a handful of customers all day. As closing time approached, I was starting to pack up when I spotted a sleek, high-end speedboat heading toward the dock. I sighed and figured I'd stay open a bit later. These types of boats usually meant big gas bills, and big bills often came with big tips. The owner, let's call him Mr. Moneybags, docked his boat with an air of self-importance. His boat looked brand new with a glistening finish and a massive outboard motor. I tied up his boat and got to work filling his tank. He asked for a full tank, which meant about 50 gallons of gas. Back in 2013, gas prices were sky high, and we only sold ethanol-free gas for boats, which pushed the price over $4 a gallon. As the pump ticked up toward $200, Mr. M's mood soured. "This gas is highway robbery," he grumbled. I just shrugged, explaining I didn't set the prices. Finally, the tank was full, 47 gallons, $192. He glared at the total like it personally offended him. I handed him the bill and asked how he wanted to pay. That's when the act began. "Oh no," he said, patting his pockets, "I forgot my wallet." This wasn't my first rodeo with someone forgetting their wallet, so I calmly explained the usual process. "No problem," I said. "I'll need to hold on to something as collateral while you head home to grab your wallet." Normally, people would leave a driver's license or keys, and if they didn't come back, we had their boat's registration on file, so it wasn't hard to track them down. "Oh, my wife can bring my wallet," he said smoothly. "Do you have a phone I could borrow to call her?" That seemed reasonable, so I turned to grab my phone from the office. Then I heard the rumble of an engine. I looked back just in time to see Mr. M hitting the throttle and speeding off. My jaw dropped. He'd pulled a runner. But in his haste to escape, he'd made a critical error. He hadn't untied the stern line from the dock. As he sped off, the line yanked a large cleat loose, ripping up an entire chunk of the dock. The plank splintered, and the cleat and a massive piece of wood were now dragging behind his boat like a tail. The damage was catastrophic and hilariously avoidable. I called security immediately, gave them his boat's registration number, and snapped a photo of the ruined dock. My boss was livid when I told him what happened. "He'll regret this," he said ominously. The next day, I got the update. Security had contacted local law enforcement, who tracked down Mr. M using his boat registration. Turned out he wasn't married at all. He'd made up the wife bringing the wallet excuse just to distract me. The Homeowners Association, which owned the marina, wasn't messing around. They gave Mr. M two choices: pay for the gas plus the cost of completely rebuilding our dock and accept a multi-year ban from the lake, face charges for theft and destruction of property. Mr. M, realizing he was caught red-handed, security cameras had captured everything, opted for option one. The gas bill, combined with the cost of the dock replacement, came to nearly $8,000. He grudgingly paid up and was banned from the lake for 15 years. When the new dock was finished 3 weeks later, it was a massive upgrade. Composite planks replaced the old wooden ones, and the entire structure was reinforced with new pilings. It was far sturdier and splinter-free, making my job much easier and safer. To this day, I can't figure out why a guy with the money to buy a $70,000 speedboat would throw such a tantrum over a $200 gas bill. At least his foolishness gave us the best dock on the lake. The image of him speeding off with half the dock dragging behind his fancy speedboat? Pure gold. It's like he thought his boat was a getaway car, completely forgetting how evidence works in the real world. What really stands out here is the irony. Someone who could afford a $70,000 speedboat lost far more by trying to skip out on such a small bill. The icing on the cake? His tantrum resulted in a shiny new dock for the marina, one sturdier and safer than the old one. It's a rare, perfect example of how recklessness can benefit everyone but the perpetrator. At the end of the day, this guy's impulsiveness is a reminder that entitlement combined with poor planning usually backfires spectacularly. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video.